Hello everybody and welcome. This is the Advent Pod SA, a timely voice, and this is a show where we look at the intricacies between faith and politics, giving you a biblical analysis of our current day events. So if you enjoy watching this type of content, please continue to subscribe. In recent times, we have seen a golden thread. That thread is greed. There is a core element of all the recent events, and that element is greed. From corruption to the murders that were conducted in the recent times, we are now seeing the evidence unfold, and as the evidence unfolds, as you know, the commissions deal with it. Particularly interested in the fact that there was a witness whose identity was concealed, who revealed that they were an investigating officer into the murder of a certain whistleblower, Armand Swart. And in that revelation, we realized that the only reason that Armand Swart was brutally murdered is because of greed. Is because somebody did not like the fact that their profiteering enterprise was going to be compromised because the whistleblower spoke out and said, hey, you're buying these little springs for way more than you should be buying for them. And this was alerted to Transnet, and somebody was profiteering from that business, overpricing essentially things that should not cost that much, was brutally killed. And this reminds me of the story in 1 Kings chapter 21, the story of Ahab, Jezebel, and a certain vineyard owner called Naboth. And the Bible says that Ahab grew jealous of the fact that Naboth had a vineyard right next to his house. And he then started plotting ways of getting access to this vineyard. Access which ended up in the elimination of Naboth, which is a theme and an element we see in our current times, where people don't get their way. The way is to eliminate those who prevent them from getting their way, which is becoming problematic. So we see that this witness was brought into a room, called by senior police officials and told, what you're dealing with is a very serious matter. You should tread carefully there. And as witness A was revealing their testimony at the Madlanga Commission, they expressed that they were then uncomfortable because it looked like bribes were being put on the table. And obviously these bribes were to say, look, let's keep it quiet so that everybody that is implicated is not necessarily found guilty. Problematic once again, because we're seeing some form of police implication in terms of protecting the criminal cartel world. And so Jezebel and Ahab use and abuse the royal powers that they had, the royal courts that they had to steal Naboth's land. And how did they do this? Jezebel sees that Ahab is, sad, and she says, "Oh, Ahab, why are you sad, my king? Are you not the king of Israel?" So she appeals to his ego and says, "Are you not the king of Israel?" And Naboth is like, because this Ahab is like, no. I want Naboth's land, that's why I'm sad. And Jezebel says, such an easy thing. I'll get you the land, don't worry. Well, we can say everything we want to say about Jezebel, but she was quite a faithful wife. She stood by her husband through and through, criminality or no criminality, she was with him. And so Jezebel set up a form of commission of inquiry of her own, and she brought in false witnesses, bribed them to speak a false testimony against Naboth, who was their neighbor. And the people came and they gave false testimony about how Naboth had done terrible things and that he deserves to die. And so through that court or commission of inquiry that Jezebel set up, Naboth was killed. And so we see kind of the same or similar themes happening these days, where police officials are invited to parties to take bribes. There being tampering of ballistic reports. We just don't know what is happening in the world today. But of note is that the city leaders, while Jezebel was doing this entire commission of inquiry, kept quiet. They turned a blind eye. And basically this idea troubles even some faithful police officials who want to see justice being upheld. And they're not given that opportunity as hard as they work. And it's quite shocking that some of the things that Witness A spoke about were actually quite shocking and revolutionary, exposing the internal rot of the system. So Naboth naturally refuses to give the land, and because he refused, and his refusal was on the basis that I cannot, and this was a moment of integrity for Naboth. He says, I cannot sell the inheritance of my fathers. Right? I cannot sell the inheritance of my fathers. In the same way, we can't be out here, beloved, selling at unreasonable profits what we should all be benefiting from as the inheritance of the country, to benefit only a select few, which is a conversation for another day. But I want to focus on this confrontation now that Elijah brings to Ahab. This is the day of reckoning for Ahab. These days are the days of reckoning for some of the underworld.
We know that you love watching our content here on the Advent Port SA. And guess what? We enjoy delivering it to you. So why wouldn't you take the time to subscribe?
Elijah confronts Ahab and says, you know what? God is going to deal with you. God is going to deal with you because where you buried the body of Naboth and dogs are now currently licking him, so will they lick yours. And that is actually the story of our lives. We find that Ahab, as much as he wanted this, this vineyard, really his issue was greed. Look, as much as the gunshots were fired at certain individuals who chose to speak up and whistle and be watchmen on the towers, the real reason why they were eliminated is because of greed. And what we are realizing is a very dangerous theme in South African systems and networks, where your silence sometimes doesn't even guarantee you your life. Your vocality also doesn't guarantee you your life, because if you're silent, you're kind of part of the problem, condoning the corruption. If you speak up, you suffer the threats of those who are in the underworld. And basically the witness said, look, I was threatened. I couldn't move because I knew that top people were knowledgeable about the elements of a case, which, it was suggested that, look, this person will receive bail. And it was quite shocking. How do they know in advance that somebody will definitely receive bail? And indeed, the police official implicated in this whole scandal received bail. And they said by hook or crook, whether or not he does receive bail, he will find a way to escape. Right? So we are seeing these elements, and those are some of the topical talking points in the current news space. But what I want to suggest here is that we need an Elijah of this time. We need an Elijah who can confront royal court corruption. We need an Elijah who can say God's justice bypasses your ranks and your titles. We need an Elijah in these days that can speak boldly towards the face of Jezebel and tell her straight that you will be the feast of dogs, and no one will bury you, because this brutal sin of greed has caused so much trouble in this world. We are only now seeing how terrible it is to be in a system that even to some extent celebrates people who are greedy, to a point where it's kind of like a winner takes all situation. Like there's no situation that suggests that everyone should equitably access the resources that are so limited and yet abundant if used correctly. So those are my thoughts this morning. I do definitely hope that you will think about some of these things and how they relate to things that have happened in the Bible, where royal power went rogue, which today royal power would represent executive power going rogue. The executive and judicial powers going rogue as well. So these are the things that are in front of us, and these are the things that we need to tackle. As a Christian today, I will say that you might be threatened. Your life might be threatened if you speak up about these things. I know many a Christian who are speaking up about these things, whose lives are in danger. And we should pray for these men and women of God who have much more knowledge than I do. Trust me, I just do the biblical analysis here. I don't give you the entire length and breadth of what's happening in the actual political space, but I give you just enough for us to be able to come up with an understanding from the Bible to say that these things have been happening, right? These things have been happening, and we need to appreciate that God is in control despite these things happening, right? Despite these things happening, God is in control. Yeah. The verse I'd like to end off with in 1 Kings chapter 21 is where Jezebel proclaims and says to Ahab, her husband, proclaim a fast, right? And seat Naboth in a prominent place. And then seat 2 scoundrels opposite him and have them bring charges against him. Then take him out and stone him. So these are the things where, beloved, really, people are being targeted for standing their ground on the truth. And those who want false testimony to thrive are concocting evidence. They are, whispering. They are trying to bribe. There's a lot going on, but it remains to be seen. It remains to be seen what the outcome will be. And if you watched until this far, we appreciate you. We really do. Please make sure that you watch our other videos. We have our podcasts dropping at, a consistent rate now. And we do hope that you enjoy watching that content as well. Please do make sure that if you want to be a member and support this channel, click the button that says join below. And if you wish to give us a super thanks, we'll be grateful to receive it. For now, this has been the Advent Pod SA, a timely voice.